Hello, I'm Molly and welcome to A Homespun House, your Friday fiber escape where the yarn is always hand-dyed and the coffee is always hot. So grab your knitting and let's get into what's been cozying up my needles this past week. The knitting bug, if it didn't hit me before, I am in full-on romantic knitting mode, I feel like. Every moment I get, I'm knitting, and every moment I'm knitting, I'm thinking about how lucky I am to be knitting and how happy I feel to be knitting. It has been bringing me so much joy. I'm not wearing a knitted garment today. I just have a cozy cardigan on. I've seen a few collared cardigans. I've seen one by my favorite things, Knitwear, that I really love. They just came out with a new pattern. It's striped. I would not knit it striped, but I am heavily considering casting that on soon. But let's chat about the things that I have been working on. I have two knits that I've been working. Well, I have a lot more than two, but there are two specifically that have me completely obsessed. Now this still needs to block, but this is half of the Stella quilt cushion. This is going to be the bottom half. So I'm knitting my main cushion using our biscuit colorway. And then here we have rose gold, oatmeal, barley, and wildwood. It looks very seasonal, very autumnal, but the next colors going around are going to be different shades of pink, along with an extreme contrast to the green. There will be a red. So I think this will be a cushion that passes all year, but I also think during Christmas time or Advent season, this will add a very cozy, Christmassy feel also. I knit this first strip in one day. I knit the second strip in one day, and I could have knit on this all week. I even considered knitting one simultaneously because I enjoyed knitting on it so much. And if you haven't knit one yet, I definitely recommend casting one on. It's a pattern by Laura Penrose. She also has a blanket version with this exact square in the blanket. And I think it's very beautiful. However, I have been craving cozy knitted cushions around my home. So I decided to cast this on, and I don't think it will be the last. I knit this using DK weight yarn. I chose a 100 gram skein for the main color, and I'm just using 20 gram DK weight skeins for all of the contrasts. I ended up using about 8 grams per colored motif here, and this will be the only green color, the only barley color. I won't be using these yarns again, which means I actually could knit 2 of this same exact pillow. And as I said, it's something that I definitely considered when I finished this first strip. I thought, okay, the directions are super clearly in my mind for that first strip. Should I cast on a second one and just do the same thing over, and then the same thing over for the next strip, so on and so forth until the square is done? But I knew I needed to knit on other things. I wanted to knit on other things, but I did have a little war with myself of, no, but you really want to knit on this. No, but you actually want to knit on other things. It's kind of what was going on in my brain. I'm sure you all have experienced that as well. If you are not a purely monogamous knitter, which I generally am not at all. So this is the Stella quilt cushion, again by Laura Penrose. We will definitely be having kits for this in our shop next week. So not this upcoming weekend, but the following weekend after next week's podcast. If you have not knit one yet, do it. It is such a quick, addictive, fun knit. The pattern comes with a backing. This is the inside. I have been weaving in my ends as I go, which Laura does recommend. I also want to mention, I've never knit one of Laura Penrose's patterns before, but I was beyond impressed by the pattern writing of the Stella quilt cushion. It is so detailed in a very beautiful, simplistic way, with not being too simplistic. You definitely get enough information. Pattern was laid out wonderfully. This is the only pattern I've ever knit for, purchased by Laura Penrose, and very impressed by the pattern writing. As I started to say before, there is a knitted backing to the pattern. I think I'm going to kind of go a traditional route of doing a sewn on velvet backing to this cushion. I have a fewer older vintage crewel pillows, and all of them are backed in velvet, and I really love it. I think a deep green like this would pair beautifully with this cushion. So still thinking about that a little bit, and I can't wait to knit on that more this weekend. The next knit that has really been taking up my brain space is the Vilma top. It's a vest by Gregoria Fiber Arts, and it is absolutely stunning. I've been looking at it for quite some time. I purchased the pattern before we left for Denmark, so maybe 3 weeks ago, and I kept going through different ideas of colors that I wanted to knit this. First, I thought that I would knit this using biscuit. Then I thought I would knit this using oatmeal. And then I dyed up our teddy because I decided I want to knit another Stay Toasty scarf by Veronica Lindberg. And I wanted to do it in teddy along with my leftover rose gold in the brushed merino. And I just saw that teddy caked up in our fingering weight merino cashmere nylon. And I thought that's what I need to knit my Vilma top in. So I did decide to do the merino cashmere DK, as I love this base. So I thought it would be really fun to knit a vest using this color. I don't have a garment knit using this color before. And I've just started it. You have to have a provisional cast on that I'll pick up at the end. So that's why you have that blue strand. That's our Scandinavia colorway hanging there. And I've just started a bit of the lace detail. This kind of detail runs throughout it. And it is absolutely beautiful. I cast it on this morning. My yarn was finally dry. And man, so I didn't do a gauge swatch. I know, I never ever gauge swatch, but I kind of have an idea of what yarns I like along with specific needle sizes. The pattern called for a 4mm needle. I cast on using a 4mm needle. I cast on 10 stitches too many. So I'm knitting size number 1. I accidentally cast on for the size number 2. I knit about this much. And then I realized something is very, very off. So then I kind of checked my knitting as a gauge swatch, and I realized that I needed to go down probably a quarter of a needle size. So I am using a 3.75mm needle. I am on gauge, and I am knitting the size 1. So everything is good. That was just frustrating, especially when you do a provisional cast on, which I feel like when you're doing techniques that you don't do often, it can seem daunting, and somehow it did to me. It seemed like, oh, I just want to do my normal cast on. I don't want to do a provisional cast on. How can I go around this? And then after all of that thought process, I decided I'm not going to go around this. I'm just going to do a provisional cast on, which took no time, the second time. And now I have not too much done. I probably have 4 or 5 centimeters knit, but I am pretty confident I will have this finished in a week or 2. I really want to wear it. I love this knit. I just think it's so pretty. It will be nice to wear over a lacy turtleneck or just over so many things. I think it will be a great layering piece. I don't have a vest, and this one I've been looking at for so long that I think it's going to be a lot of fun to wear, and I am very much enjoying the knit so far. It's knit bottom up, and I don't do a lot of garments bottom up. I usually prefer to do a top down. I don't enjoy bottom up at all, actually. So we'll see how I do enjoy the entire knit of this garment, how I find it, how I find the pattern writing. I have knit another Gregoria Fiber Arts sweater. I really enjoyed that. It was one for my daughter. I believe I knit the size 1 or 2 as well, so a similar sizing, and I did enjoy her pattern writing, but that's been a few years now, and I feel like I'm new again to her pattern writing. So that is the Vilma top by Gregoria Fiber Arts. I'm just going to share with you super quick the Friday tee that I cast on. My mom decided that she did want the Cinder and Smoke for her Friday tee. I have just cast on the collar. I have a bit more of the collar to do, and I did decide that I am going to do the folded over collar on her sweater. It's something that I really wish that I had done on mine. I'm not regretting it too much. There's a little bit of regret there, but I do wish that I had the stability of the folded over collar in mine. So I'm knitting this using Merino cashmere nylon fingering. That's pretty much all there is to say about this. I've knit this pattern twice. This is my 3rd time knitting it, which will make it very simple to knit. And this will be one that I pick up on and off. I don't have too much of a rush to knit on or work on this pattern. I was thinking I'd be able to gift it to her when she came to visit, but I'm thinking it might be more ready Christmas, New Year's Eve kind of thing. I did finish my pair of socks knit using Cider Season. So these are going to look quite a bit different than the collar of that sweater. And the reason for that is gauge. I am knitting that sweater, I believe, on a 2.5 millimeter needle. I knit these on a 2 millimeter needle. There's also a lot less stitches in the round. So this sock tends to look more saturated than the collar does, just because the circumference is so much smaller. It's also hand-dyed yarn, so you're going to get batches that are a lot more saturated, batches that aren't so saturated. That is just the absolute beauty of hand-dyed yarn. This is also our Merino cashmere nylon base. And I loved knitting these socks. I have no idea if these are going to be for myself. I don't even remember what size I knit them. If they're my size of sock, I'm keeping these. I absolutely adore them. But it is possible I knit them a little bit larger, so I either knit them for myself, my dad, or Robert. So these are finished, just simple stockinette stitch socks, 60 stitches, fun to knit. I usually always have a pair of stockinette stitch socks on the needles. I don't, however, have a pair at the moment, so that needs to be changed. The next pair of socks that I have on my needles are the Petal drop socks. This is a pattern by Florence Miller. You can find this pattern on Ravelry. I think it's per a donation basis, and it comes along with YouTube tutorials. So it's great for a first-time sock knitter. It's great if you've never knit lace or toying around with knitting something a bit more pretty than stockinette. I definitely recommend it. It is my 2nd pair of Petal drop socks. I cast these on immediately after finishing the 1st pair that I knit. I knit that using rose gold. I don't have a rose gold color that I can share with you right now, but I knit those using our rose gold colorway. This is our velvet colorway on Merino cashmere nylon fingering. I knit this using leftover yarn from a skirt that I made my youngest daughter quite a few years ago. So this has been sitting in my stash for a while, the cake of it. And that's why I made the cuff on this one quite short. I wanted to be sure that I have enough of that yarn. So I have started the 2nd one. This is how it looks knit up. This is how it looks blocked. So you can see there's a big difference when you have lace or cables on your needles between how much it loosens and relaxes after you wash and soak your socks. So this feels quite stiff, whereas I know once I block it, you're going to have that cashmere feel and really be able to enjoy the softness of the socks. So I believe I did 7 repeats. I did do 7 repeats. The original pair, I think I did 12. These are super cute. I think I'll wear these, as I mentioned in last week's episode, with just all of my satin midi skirts. They look super sweet, and I really enjoy wearing a pretty pair of socks with some pretty suede loafers with those. I had a person in last week's episode ask, when I'm wearing my sweaters that I've knit, if I could show a more vertical view of me wearing those sweaters. So I will try to include side clips in upcoming videos as I'm working on sweaters of me wearing my knits, because that makes so much sense. You don't just want to see it from here up. You also want to see how the knit fits and looks. So I will definitely keep that in mind for upcoming videos. The next pair of socks that I have been working on and I am almost finished with is my sweater weather socks. I am knitting the Rye pattern by Tin Can Knits. I decided to do 60 stitches for this, and I did 18 garter stitch ridges down the front and through the gusset. I just have to close these up. I just have to do my decreases for my toes, and these will be finished next week. I'm sure with my petal drop socks, these will be finished next week too. So those will feel nice to have off of the needles. The final pair of socks that I am knitting on is using our Wildwood colorway. This is a color that's in my Stella quilt cushion. I'm knitting this using our fingering weight tweed. All of these tonal bases you can find on our website under the tonal category. In fact, I did want to touch on this because we received a lot of emails regarding our brushed merino base that we have in the shop. It's a new base. It is my favorite base for adding a halo. You can see that bit of halo there. That is also available on all of our tonals. You just click on any color and you choose the brushed merino base. This is our rose gold colorway. I did knit a Stay Toasty scarf using this, held alongside a fingering weight yarn. It is so luscious and soft for people who have a problem with mohair or alpaca. It is absolutely wonderful. I have plans to knit this along with Teddy, like I mentioned earlier, but I'll be using a fingering weight cashmere. So this is going to be super luxurious. Okay, so back to the socks. I am using 2.5 millimeter needles. It's our Wildwood colorway on our fingering weight tweed. There is nylon in this sock yarn, so it creates a wonderful, stable sock. And I decided just to make up this sock pattern myself. Here is the cable pattern. I did a really long ribbing, 4x2, and then I just did a 2-stitch cable. Really simple. I did that all the way down to the heel. And now I'm working on my gusset decreases. I've just picked up for the gusset decreases, and I'm just going to work these cable stitches along the top of the sock. I'm not going to bring it all the way down and around the sock. It will look something similar to the petal drop socks, where it's simply the texture running through the top. These are a lot of fun to knit. I feel like any sort of texture is super addictive, and these, just like the petal drop socks, are going to block out wonderfully. This is my favorite green that we have in the shop, Wildwood. I do have another green colorway to share with you. I'm knitting the Stay Toasty scarf by Veronica Lindberg. This is a stunning pattern. It's so much fun to knit. For those of you who have knit a Sophie scarf, you're going to really enjoy the mix-up of this one. You can knit it smaller, you can knit it longer. I decided to again use scrap yarn. I am using our mohair silk. I honestly would prefer to use our brushed merino, but I'm trying to use up my scraps, and I've almost used up all of my mohair scraps because I love the brushed merino so much more. You can just see by looking at it how much more soft and buttery this is as opposed to the mohair. The mohair is lovely. I still enjoy wearing it. The brushed merino has an extreme butter-like feel that you just can't compare for softness to the other lace add-along yarns. Here is the texture of this one. I kind of have some Christmas progress keepers on here. This is that gingerbread from Lock and Lou. And then I have these cute little snowman needle stoppers. So I'm at the decreases here. I keep telling myself that I won't start my next Stay Toasty scarf until this one is finished, which I could do in a long evening. So maybe I'll put that as priority so I can cast on the next one, but We all know I really want to knit on my Stella quilt cushion or the Vilma top. I do think when I finish this, I'll be working on my Vilma top. I do have 2 more shawls to chat about. Last week I shared with you the croissant of a Sophie scarf that I am knitting for Mako. For those of you who were watching or listening and thought, who in the heck is Mako? She is my employee and I love her. She's awesome. So I showed her some colors and asked her what she would like for her Sophie shawl, and she chose Scandinavia. So I'm knitting this, or I did knit this using our 50% silk, 50% yak base. This is not a base that we have in the shop. I think it's something that I will bring to the shop in spring. I thought that I would be able to bring it to the shop this fall, but I think it will be nicer to bring into the shop for spring, and such a fun knit. I'll be giving this to Mako on Monday when she comes into work. I'm knitting another one on that same exact base. This is our tulle skirt colorway. It's a very soft, powdery pink. And I've just started this. I kind of have some coordinating progress needle stoppers to go along with this. And this is my project that stays down here in my studio while I'm working, in between packing orders, having a few sips of coffee, and just taking a bit of time for myself. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Until next time, take care, stay cozy, and see you again next Friday.